Arian. I am a product owner at a VC-backed startup. I am a former software engineer and startup founder myself. So if you're into startups, tech, or entrepreneurship, then you're in the right spot. That's all we talk about here on this channel. So in this video, I really wanted to just talk about some things that I see developers doing, or like people who are not even developers, people who are looking to get into tech in general and who are trying to break into tech in the current job market today. I just want to talk about some of the things I think people are doing wrong, because I hear this a lot, I see it a lot, and I just think we should talk about it. So one of the things is that a lot of people still think that we're in this world or time where you can just take a online Udemy course, or take free code camp, or build a clone of Twitter and Netflix, or Instagram clone, or build a mobile app once, or like I said, any sort of tutorial based learning is basically defunct in 2024, in my personal opinion. This is going to be heavily geared towards developers trying to break into their first role or break into tech, but this sort of applies to anybody. So if you're trying to break into UI, UX, cybersecurity, product management, project management, QA, any job you're trying to break into in tech, I want people to just really understand that it is about the tangible experience that you have actually earned and learned and experienced, what you've gone through, that matters on your resume, in your interviews. It's what people are going to want to hear you talk about when you go to these interviews. If you get interviewed for these jobs, people don't want to hear about what you did in a silo by yourself, in a room by yourself, with watching videos. No one's there to push you to be better. No one's there for you to have like interpersonal conflicts with, or disagreements with, that you have to actually resolve and work through and communicate through. you know you've never been up against a deadline, of something really big needing to happen, and you had to make trade-offs and key decisions, and you had to shift priorities on things, or somehow you had to get something very important done by a certain deadline, when your back was against the wall, or something like that. Who knows? Working with people of different cultural barriers, time zones, belief systems, whatever. These are the things that, people want to hear about and see you do, aside from just what personal projects, side projects, passion projects that you've worked on. They want to see, what real skills do you have? And not only that, but are you a self-starter? Like, do you really need somebody to to tell you to do something? Do you need to be incentivized in order to start doing something, right? Or are you that person that's just curious naturally, who wants to learn and dabble and jump into new things? Like, these are becoming the intangible skills that I feel like, are going to be just norms in the job market now. They were nice to haves before, but I feel like now they're becoming more and more need to haves. And, finding a way to really apply yourself in whatever field that it is that you're trying to get into, um, applying yourself in the real world, the equivalent really of like what we called internships, or they're still called internships or apprenticeships or whatever. But this idea that you've been in the real world doing this thing. You weren't just, like I said, taking courses and certifications is another one. People want to go get certifications, and they think that's going to override the need for experience. Those certifications really don't mean anything if you don't actually apply that in the real world, because that's really where the certification knowledge comes in, is when you're in the real world and you have to actually do something with it. You have to solve a problem, or stop something from happening, or ensure that something does happen. Like, that is where the applied knowledge becomes experience is valuable for you. And just getting certifications, just trying to study for tests and test prep and watching videos, doing tutorials, those sorts of things are like a thing of the past. That is not the tech industry that people are experiencing today, or the job market that people are experiencing today. So, this can look different for everybody, when it comes to how you go about getting that experience, and it depends on your role and all those different things. But I just wanted to like really reiterate that I feel like a lot of people think that just simply networking, or just taking a bunch of courses, or just building a crazy portfolio that has all this stuff in it. Even though those things are great, I'm not saying don't network. I'm not saying at all not to have a portfolio, but I am saying not to rely on real world isolated experiences, or really I should just say like isolated learning experiences over real world experience with other people. This is actually something that I'm like really passionate about, and I'm actually working on a startup now that is going to help address that problem. And so I look forward to like telling y'all more about that coming up here soon. But yeah, like real world experience is what people are looking for when they hire people today. And I'm not saying that means you have to have worked in a job in a professional role in that sense, on that in whatever that experience is for that role, but you need to be able to speak to something that you did with other people where you worked in that role in some capacity, and what you did efficiently, what you were able to produce, what were the outcomes for that team, that project, that company, that nonprofit, whatever it is. You need to be able to tell a story about yourself. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing. They still think that we're in the early 2010s or 2015, 15, 14, 16, where you could go to coding boot camp and be in hot demand right after that for entry level software engineer roles, which is no longer the case. And I think that applies to not just software engineers, but I think a lot of roles in tech. I think these jobs are getting harder to not only get, but to keep as well. And so, choosing to spend your time in a way that you can really build those irreplaceable skills, and you really learn things that are in high demand, not just, again, regurgitated knowledge from a course that could be outdated in the next 3 months, 6 months, right? Like the course you're taking today, if you're a developer, or in a lot of things, like the course you're taking today very well could be out of date in the next 6 months, right? So by the time you actually get a job, if that's the only knowledge and experience you actually have, that knowledge might be far outdated, right? So the more experiences that you can afford yourself or give yourself, the better. Um, and like I said, I think talking about how you might go about getting those experiences is probably a topic for a different video. But in this one, I just wanted to, really touch on this because I see so many people who are kind of complaining about the job market, and like they can't get a job, they can't get an interview. They're applying for all these jobs. They did a portfolio, they did, they did their resume, they have their GitHub, they network, they go to these networking events, they add people on LinkedIn, but you know, all those things don't really matter as much as the actual experience and accolades that you've put up for other companies and things you've actually accomplished. And the networking part of this too is another one that's sort of a pet peeve of mine, where people like reach out or hit you up, and they think that just because they met you one time somewhere, or they connected with you at a networking event, or they connected with you on LinkedIn or something, that hey, if I just reach out and ask this person if they'll help me, that's networking, or that's me leveraging my network. But the reality is that you never tried to offer any value back to that person, right? So it's a transactional ask where you just want somebody to do something for you basically for free and get nothing out of it other than to help you get a job and potentially change your life. And that's a very selfish way of looking at it. And I just think a lot of people have it backwards, that that's how networking goes, and that's how they're going to get their first job, and those sort of things. And so, um, yeah, I just kind of wanted to, give my 2 cents on that as well. Because I think the tech market and the job market in general has changed a lot, and I think it's going to continue to change as technology advances, obviously AI advances, and inflation goes up. These companies can't really afford to pay as many people as much money as they've been paying them historically in tech. And so, I think we're going to continue to see the job market being very tight, potentially layoffs, and also it just being very difficult to get a job when people do, unfortunately get laid off or something along those lines. So let me know what y'all's thoughts are on this. But that's just my 2 cents on just kind of advice for people who are trying to break into tech. And I think like the best way you can really spend your time to make sure that you're getting valuable experience that can actually lead to you being qualified for that, first experience in tech. So let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comments. I love to just talk it up and go back and forth and see what other people think, some of the things you've observed in the job market recently. But check out the description box as well. All my links to everything, my resources are all down there. So make sure y'all check that out. And until next time, y'all, this is Darian. I'll catch you in the next video.